Perfect. UAP.
Hey, hey,
Oi, oi. You
how are you
graces.
doing, man?
Oh,
Long
I'm
time no
actually
see.
fantastic. I'm feeling really, really good. I'm really stoked, really excited about this. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, always. I think it was about a year ago we had a chat, a few of them, and it was great fun.
I think it's been a bit more recent than that, but the time is going quick with all of this, and this year has been just like a stick in a spliff, and that's all you get. That's 2020. It's been terrible. Absolutely
Yeah,
terrible.
this is yeah, it's a time of illusion.
No, well, I think it's all like unveiling. Everyone's feeling the same, especially in the truther community and even splinters of the truther community. You know, the purple pillars, feeling that there is something seriously afoot. You know, not just to do with the insanity, but with this unveiling and how different everything's looking, the changes, and what's happening with the history, which is absolutely mind blowing, as you'll see shortly.
Yeah,
Mind blowing.
yeah.
So, UAP, what's going on in UAP world reality?
Well, um, yeah, just I'm just coping, coping with everything that's happening around here. But it hasn't really affected my life. Personally, and that's a strange thing. You would think there would be people as severely affected, and we talked about this just the other day. That yeah, it's I'm just kind of seeing like almost normal life going on, except for just a lot of the fluffy things that would be going on, keeping people busy, are just not happening. It's like the world's closing up shop. So I've had this project in mind that I was working on, and I put the first part out the other day. That I told you about the ELO album Time. It's a concept album of time travel, and so I'm
Okay.
having fun with that because it's kind of like going to the future and having this dystopian existence that you find, and you kind of want to go back to the past, back to 1981 from the year 2095, and basically the guy is seeing visions that are the songs, and it's like, is it real, is it a dream? There's nothing that is in between. Well, uh, that's kind of like what everybody's experiencing, I think. So I
Yeah.
think it's a great time to put it out.
Yeah. What is this place? You know, what is this
Right.
place? Is it an illusion? Is it a dream? We're living in our reality. We're living in a physical realm, but ourselves, us, the I, our spirits, even our minds. Our thoughts exist in a non-physical realm. They are non-material. Our thoughts are non-material, and so is our spirit. Yet we exist in a avatar, if you like. So what's
Hmm.
going on with that? And
Yeah.
yet reality can be affected and changed because yourself, you approve that. Okay, this can be done. Can affect
Hmm.
change in reality. Okay, and this has been proved. So that would mean that reality, in some way, is malleable through
Right.
intent, through will,
Hmm.
through positive intent, never doubting, and will, and it'll all just fall into place. So there's a lot of ideas going around there. UAP. There's the simulation or the virtual reality, which actually explains everything,
Yeah.
including mud flood, because it would explain every aspect. Flat Earth. It would explain the how all these crazy anomalies going on with mud flood, which I'll show you a couple of now, which are highly creepy when we look at them,
Hmm.
freak people out. Oh, not though, but just saying. I was going through it and I just had a strangest feeling.
Yeah.
Like something was really off, and I just touched upon it, and it was like, oops. And then the thought came in my head, and it was like, it just can't be. It's like almost as if the past wasn't there. It's just, you know, like not rendered. It's just like it hasn't there. It's just not there. There's like it seems to be two timelines of classical architecture. Okay, UAP in your civic
Hmm.
buildings in America and here as well. Yeah, they have great marble columns and they're made of marble. They are solid. These structures are amazing. Yet you get back to the actual classical world. okay, which is Rome, Greece, Constantinople, etc., you find that all of their monuments are hollow, look like they are all fake.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like there's two classical eras, you know, and in the photography it shows you like something is really, really off. So I'll hopefully share some of that with you. See if you see if you can shed some light on this, because I can't get my head around to UAP. It's something really off. Maybe the guys, when they're watching this, will see exactly what I mean. So
But I put out a video about architecture that I'll share, because I actually, when I did the video, I had an architect kind of following along and validating, you know, these things. It's like with all these conspiracies, I throw some stuff out there, like it just seems like this, and I'm going out on a limb and speculating based on the evidence, and not anything else, not what I've been taught is even possible. I just speculate.
Same.
And I wait for the pros to come and just dress me down with how wrong I am and how much proof there is to the contrary, and would I just shut up and stop it? If anything, I just have them come along and say, I am so glad somebody finally noticed outside of this industry where we can't talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's all kinds of stuff with the architecture. And in that video, I went back and researched the history. And so I'm reading what architects say to other architects in school about architectural history and timelines and periods and the classifications and the ways that they can tell the authenticity of something that is like retro or actual period work.
Yeah.
And there's no lines anywhere. There's not even blurred lines. There's just an arbitrary date of when it was believed to be built, before or after, that assigns it to this like category. And then if it really looks like something else, then it's like if it's after that time period, they just put the word neo in front of it.
Yeah, pretty vague, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally arbitrary.
Yeah, it is.
Completely.
It is. Can you see the screen? Can you share? I'm sharing the screen. Can you see it at all, UAP?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, that is the earliest collection of photographs I reckon available of Rome, and I'm just astounded. Actually, it's the classical world, so it's Rome, Athens, Pompeii, Greece, the Acropolis, Istanbul, that type of thing. But there's a lot of exactly the same overwhelming theme, actually, of what is going on and why is this this Roman monument here, right, made of cast. It's made of cast, UAP. What's going on? Now, it's full of stone. Okay, you can see it's full of stone, can't you? And then it's cast over the top, so it's not real. It's not real. And you got this same hue we find all the time with the vanilla skies. This, I suppose, yellowish hue you find.
Sepia,
yeah. With all of this monument, these are supposed to be like 1860s. These photographs, they're really, really early, and you can still see the water line. And this, you know, this is supposed to be the classical world. Yet what you find is everything seems to be Lego, and you get big, you know, really big giant blocks, etc. But it's really, really higgledy-piggledy and hollow looking. Honeycombs on this one, okay? So I thought, well, you know, I've seen this overwhelming theme.
Wait.
Sorry.
Well, and this one, yeah, zoom in. Let's look at the scale of the people here. It's like, I see this a lot. It looks like someone's photoshopped in or something.
We're going to see that now. Do you know what? Look at the sky behind. It's just been cropped. It's been cropped. They're hiding whatever it is. Okay, you can see this now. This is Paris in the basically the Franco-Prussian War, 1871. Loads of cities have gone up. Boston's gone up the same year, but it's exactly the same thing. Yeah, it's showing these just old stone with cast all around it. I thought, you know, what's going on? You know, what is like this entire fake reality going on here? It's
Well,
all,
when you say cast, what are you talking about?
cast
It's
is a
that kind of
covering.
it's
Well,
kind of a
I worked
it's
in stonemasonry, okay, UAP,
Mhm.
and when it's a beautiful craft, absolutely love it. But stone got to breathe, okay. This is not stone. This is
right.
cobble, okay, crudely coupled together in an outside cast of something like just concrete or some
Well,
sort of
it's but
cement.
it's not concrete though.
Look, it's just
It's isn't it kind of a it's kind of a white kind of the soft stone similar to like what they make these really fine statues out of that they say is carved out of a monolith,
hmm.
but it's not. It's like a almost like a plastic that somehow gets turned into stone.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Oh, that's
And
really annoying.
and and the and then you also see evidence of it melting. Uh,
Seen that.
like even there, it almost looks like
Oh,
some of that debris.
it is. It's just all of these on here just seem like there's been melting. This is the the planet. Look at this. This is a classical world. This is like it seems like
Yep.
something's just come in from above, smashed it, hit it,
Hmm.
and just fragmented it. In fact, it looks like it's coming from this direction, and it's hit it on this corner where this this statue is here, like that way. But this is Paris.
Hmm.
Just note that, right? This is Paris, 1871, and watch what miraculously happens when the whole city, as you can see, is not too good. It's demolished, and you can see the same thing going on in here.
Sure.
This like
Sure.
it's just crazy and
Yeah. And
cobble stone.
the oh, go ahead.
No, just saying, look, it's just stone. It's been covered over to give it the appearance of a classical world. Is what I'm suggesting. It's almost like a stage set UAP, like like they've just done a big Shakespearean stage set or something, or even that, it's not even there at all. Look at these backgrounds. It's just where's the people
Hmm.
and where's
Yeah.
where's the sky?
Yeah. The sky's never there. They say, oh well, it's the exposure. And I went back and I have found so many examples of where you can see it's not even like cut paper, but it's like ripped paper. I
Like
think they purposely ripped the
oh,
paper
excuse
so
me.
that it has kind of a transitional edge,
Yes,
and then it has like they lay the pieces over and they do this double exposure, so they overexpose the sky to
yes,
hide all the good stuff,
exactly what
and
I'm finding.
they also expose in other images, and you can tell the outlines. And then I've seen where they've exposed or airbrushed somehow, smudged sometimes or inked out certain
100%.
people who tend to be giants.
Exactly what I found. Exactly what I found. I can show you
Yeah.
an example of that now, anyway. But that is not a real shot UAP. Just
No.
work out right. This is supposed to be taking down a part of the San Francisco Exposition, okay, the tower, which is hollow, looks like it's made of plasterboard, and this is supposed to be what they did, collapse it. Okay, I don't see any explosion. I'm not sure they collapsed it, but you check where the trajectory of that is going to fall. There's nowhere for it to fall. It's just going to drop and hit this building or hit these towers, and these blokes are standing here. I don't think that's a reality. I think that's somehow faked.
Yeah,
Like there's something
because
else.
it's an action shot.
It's an action shot.
And they tell us that Abe Lincoln had to have sit in a chair with screws screwed in to hold his head exactly still, and his picture is still blurry.
Well,
It's like, and that's the president they're doing a portrait of, and yet the same years they can get these action shots of these things.
well, this being 100% whitewashed is creepy because
Mm.
I've got a few of these, right? They're gentlemen in cats, if you can call them that. It's been completely whitewashed out. There's a line here, and if you can see, that's exactly what you were just talking about, UAP. The white has actually come down into the underbit, proving that they're blacking out whatever's in the background,
Right,
so
right.
we
And
don't see it.
there are a few times that I found where how like they have a complex structure,
Hmm.
and there's a gap,
Hmm.
and I zoomed in on the gap to see what are they hiding.
Hmm.
And you know what I saw?
Go on.
I saw complex architectural structures that had no top. Like there was a very tall gap between buildings, and I followed it up, and I could see in the background there was something that would have been like uh, Saint Saint Peter's Basilica or something, going all the way up, all the way up, all the way up until the vanilla sky picked it up, and it cut off all of a sudden. And so there it was. What city was it? I don't remember the city. It was kind of like Irkutsk or something. Maybe it was that one. But
Yeah.
one of these like unmentionable cities that most people have never heard of, and it had huge, tall, multi-story. It must have been like 5-story for like 20-foot tall people.
Yeah.
Like that kind of huge, and it was completely otherwise just wiped out. And supposedly it's just oh, that's just sky. And so many times I've checked the horizon, and the horizon is artificially low, as if we lived on a globe. Ha!
Funny that.
Yeah, right. Because we know how to look for that, and we know where the horizon has to be, unless it's an extremely foggy day, and they happen to be on top of a hill. But I was going through a bunch of photos, and I'm like, here they are on top of a hill. Oh, they're on top of a hill again. Oh, they're on top of a hill. No trees, nothing in the background, no mountains, hills, anything. Yeah. And these towers, what do you think about these towers, Martin? They all have these circles supposedly for clocks, and I'm not buying it.
I think there's a big clue with this picture. This is one of the Shroppy images of Charleston in the American Civil War. And it says on Shroppy, this is from 1865. So this is not long after its bombardment. Okay, UAP. Yet what we're seeing is, would you think that all of this growth and all of this mess, like weeds grown in the street, this stuff takes a long time. Like the whole thing is covered in vegetation, suggests to me that this, whatever destruction has happened here, has been associated with the American Civil War, has happened at an earlier time, from what I can see in that picture. Look how long and high these weeds are, and they're dried back. This is years of growth, UAP. This can't be, if you stick with their narrative. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just like when you showed the San Francisco exhibition, I found the evidence of the whitewashing, where it was obviously very old. It's the problem they have right now in Washington, D.C., that there's this kind of black mold that grows on the outsides of the buildings, and it just, because it's this bright white stone that you've talked about, and they all use that, and it just absolutely is eventually covered with like kind of a patina. It's very obviously aged. If it was brand new, they wouldn't have to whitewash it. And I could see in these aerial type photos, or they were higher shots from the tops of these extremely tall buildings that are just in the exhibition to be torn down. I mean, they're like 150, 300 feet in the air. And they're taking the photo panorama, and you can see where the whitewashing just had to stop because nobody was going to see that part of the building. And then you can see the age. And it was evident in the last photo too. Just the age, just the fact that it's not just a little bit old, but it's very old.
I agree completely. I'm wondering what's going on. It's looking like the cities and all these destructions are, temporary or just really crudely built when it's supposed to be classical. All of the photography is having whitewashed backgrounds. This is Gardner, who's the first war correspondent photographer in history. He went to the American Civil War, and this is in the Crimean War, and they've just taken away the background so you don't see what's there. And it's that same thing going on, that phasing out. It's really peculiar. This one creeps me out.
And let me guess, I don't know this for a fact, but the Crimean War had I call it the Crimean River War, but they had one official photographer.
Gardner, him, Scotsman, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like the government photographer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering who's taking that photograph because he must have had an assistant with him or something, or he must have had a
Well,
timer.
well, yeah, yeah. I found that this Maharaja in an 1856 crystal clear high def 4K photo took a selfie. He must have had a timer, and he's sitting cross-legged. There's no wire. There's nothing like that, and it's just a perfect photo. And he's he's looking like the bad guy from the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom movie. He's got all the makeup, all the stuff
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on, and he's sitting cross-legged on the floor. And it's got to be the very first 1856. It's got to be the very first photo, one of the first photos in India, right?
Yeah.
But it's he does it by himself basically, and he has an artificial backdrop, just like all of these like staged photos. If they don't whitewash it like you showed, they have this like a old. I don't know if you have like these maybe 10, 20 years ago. These photographers here we have. You know, you could go to Walmart and get it done, but like a family photo, and they have the artificial backdrops that you can choose from. Well, they had all that in 1856. It's just odd. It's really odd because
Very.
why would they start that way? And it's always present. All these portraits, you'd think it'd be easier to take the photo outside,
Oh yeah.
and you would have, yeah.
Yeah.
You take it outside, you have the natural light,
It just makes
and
no
you want to
sense.
capture as much as you can in this very important photograph. Capture history, capture as much as you can. You wouldn't whitewash things. You wouldn't use artificial backgrounds.
No, can you see that photograph?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the Paris Exposition. It's supposed to be built during all that time. But look at the trees and look at the scale. This thing's been.
It looks sunken.
It looks sunken, all right. It looks like half of it is missing. It's always top heavy, disproportionate. You find this with all of this era. It's so identifiable too, isn't it? Here's another one for you. I mentioned when we had a chat yesterday. Somebody in the photographs I showed on my last vlog of Paris said, what was all in pallets against the wall, Matt? They never had pallet trucks. In fact, the first mobile crane, British Rail used in 1947, so what are they using?
Yeah.
But you can see this giant crane here, but look at this with the pallets. To bring it up to level, to street level.
Wow.
How deep is this going if you're going to do that? And this is street level up here. This is like how deep the sub-basement goes. It's like 50 foot or something. That's a crazy image, that is. Absolutely crazy.
Well, that picture is to me very representative of the typical construction photos that I find from this era, these early days. These construction sites are abysmal messes.
God, yes.
Any mediocre job foreman would absolutely kick everybody's ass for having such a messy, sloppy work site. And they're all like that because it's cleanup. It's post disaster. Oh, that looks melted to me.
Well, that's exactly why I'm showing it. Or what's going on? This is like, apart from it's mud flooded, because like a third of this is below the ground level here. If at first I thought, there was bas reliefs over them, and they've just come off in the flood or something, but they're still on here. But when you look underneath, it's that same crude concrete work or Roman cement work with the volcanic ash, I suspect, or whatever, or is vitrified and melted, because that's what it looks like on this one. Or runs, or what have you.
Yeah.
Highly weird.
It's amazing. Now, stay on this one for a minute because usually they block out the writing, and this definitely looks. Well, it looks Latin, but then it almost.
No, I can see some of it. I can see Pompidus. I can see, I can see it make out a few words there of Latin, but it's that same, what they call Roman, but it's Phoenician, isn't it? I'm starting to, I've looked at so much of it over the last 5 years or more. For years before that, actually, I'm starting to, just it's so very similar to British or English or French or German. It's all. We've been studying languages quite a long time now with all of this. I'm getting to identify what a lot of it was saying, which emperor was in at the time, and
Hmm.
that's it with them. But
Now with
yeah,
the
that's
numerals and the years,
mm,
I've seen some odd things with that where they had a different nomenclature for the Roman numerals
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
counting the
I've
years.
seen it too. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
because they break the rules, and it lends to that sentiment that it is a staged reality where something's off because you
Oh,
wouldn't make such of a massive monument and then go and not follow the numbering rules and mess that up and have four C's in a row,
mm,
unless that was acceptable at the time, but I'm not aware of that. I don't study it enough to know for sure,
you know,
but I believe that you wouldn't do that. You would
yeah.
have, typically you don't have four of any of the Roman numerals lined up, unless it would be 4,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
I think it's almost as if we're looking at two separate times, or even if it's not even there. You know, like a staged reality. This is back to the Paris Exposition. Only a few years after it's completely destroyed, right? Oh yeah, a lot of text going on, but on battleships, UAP, and they have them arrays on the decks in these day and age, and they
hmm
just like, don't they look like them, the domes?
yeah, the Onion Dome,
Yeah,
yeah,
very similar, aren't they?
yeah,
I'm wondering if
and
it's
these.
some mind control going on with these domes and these people.
Well, go back because
Excuse me.
I've done that photo too,
Yeah.
and these guys in the foreground, yes, they're in the foreground, but there's something obviously different about them,
No kidding.
and it's their height.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I've noticed I think they're the old world. I think they're the last of the original people,
Yeah.
possibly that they tend to be of much greater stature.
Mm.
They seem to be of greater importance. And
Look.
to me,
Yeah. Everyone's
it's
looking
I
at
have
him. Look at that
everyone
lady.
looks at
Him.
them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They
Like
all
in
look at them.
fascination of them. And that
Yeah.
guy, he's
And
like gawping, isn't he? He's like, what's
yep.
going on? And look at
Yeah.
that headway, UAP. It's almost as like they're from another reality and they've just arrived in this
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Just.
I think that they may be cone heads,
Yeah.
honestly. And
Wow.
also, I know it's funny, but also they often have their faces covered or blurred. And then I've also noticed that I have a sense that they are saying goodbye. They're leaving to go somewhere else.
Oh. Oh, like look, having a last look at their world.
Yeah.
I'm getting that. I'm getting that.
And the
Ooh.
people know it, or maybe not very well.
No, these guys look like they're the arrivals. They're the tourists. They're the ones
Yeah.
going looking at this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. These three, it's like they're saying
Wow.
sayonara and yeah, they're kind of old world. Like
Wow.
their shoes, they're a
I
little
know, I
different.
know, I know. The shoes are just everything. It's completely different about them. But
I mean,
there's
look
a
at the
ladder there,
feet. Those
UAP.
feet are
Ladder,
bigger.
ladder.
Oh, ye olde Ladderline, yes. They have them all the time because
Yeah, they do.
because they had to. These buildings don't have stairs. They have to use a ladder to get sometimes just to get up onto these balconies and different places. Because I always go to the stairs. I try to see that to see like the stature of the people. I did a study on stairs, and I found that it was funny. I always go back to the year 1850. Like everything began in the year 1850.
Gotcha.
Did you know they didn't figure out the proportions, the optimal proportions for stairs until 1850?
No,
Until 1850,
no.
every stairs were different. You had, like like in your country, you have the
Mm.
servant steps that are way steeper, and you can break your ankles and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
It just doesn't seem like it's regulated obviously now,
Mm.
but there's still them left. But the the time period of about 1850, supposedly they were all different, and it's
That place is fantastic. Why the hell would they get rid of it? If Paris looked like that, why isn't it like it now? All of that gone, UAP. Does that make sense to you?
No, no, it never did, and it's something that they
Fantastic.
did over and over again. And then the later World's Fairs are so lame by comparison. I think they were actually doing what they claimed to be doing,
Yeah.
and and it really didn't seem the same as the early ones that were, I think, completely different. Yeah,
Hmm. Well, that's
I
Paris,
agree.
same vanilla sky going on. And, you know, it's the classical world in Paris, all of, you know, this is Rome, but you've got the marble thing going on here. Can't verify what's underneath them. I'm guessing that's still there in the modern day. Well, exactly the same top as you get in the Brandenburg Arch in Germany, just proving that these people were all on the same side, really.
Yeah,
They're really
and
rulers.
those and there's arches. There's nothing innate about having a triumphal arch.
Hmm.
There's nothing to gain by it. And I was watching one of your vids and I saw, I love this comment you made about maybe they're kind of like metal detectors because
Yeah, yeah,
the armies went out. I did a vid on electric night, you know, the electrified warfare and the
yeah,
demonstrations
definitely.
that they have.
Yeah.
And I used this photo that I discovered from watching one of your videos with the electrical swords shooting the lightning bolts
Yeah, from the
in
Nuremberger.
Germany.
Yeah,
Yes,
Nuremberger. Yeah, it's amazing.
and it was. And did you notice in that photo that some of the people are giants and
Yeah,
some of
yeah,
them
yeah,
are?
they are. Yeah, it's just
Oh, yeah.
I've got it on my wall in my bedroom, UAP. I absolutely love
Yeah,
that bit. Yeah, yeah, I got a frame around
it
it.
is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I printed it off. Look at this double decker thing here. You're telling me
Yes.
one horse, you know, Lee Flat of British Sub mentioned this. You know, some of these things are 8 ton. I'm just not sure whether this little pony could pull all of that, even on rails. Maybe if he gets a little bit of momentum going, who knows? They must be
Yeah.
just like half dead when they get to the end of the street or something. See,
Well, I've seen the motors on some of them. They're very small, like
yeah, I've seen them.
electric motors.
Yeah, I've got pictures of them. I could show you that. Yeah, and they seem to be, you know, they're not connected with anything. They're anomalous, but they could be just picking up a charge from, you know, the free energy that's kicking around Tesla style back in the day. So you seem to have a bit of a population going on, yeah.
Oh, they're moving in.
They're moving in, all right.
It's what you often see. Well, I don't know in that picture, but yeah. Whoa, what's going on back there? It's like a blurry circle below the clock.
I think it's just a tree. No, I don't think it is. I don't really know. You know how we can get in on that. Excuse me. No, it's a blur of some sort, like a cigarette burn or something, just obscuring
Hmm.
that. That's one hell of a Tartarian building. It's got the towers, the clock in the middle, the whole thing.
They all have their antennas, which are exactly in proportion to what you see on top of fire stations
Yeah.
these days. You know, for the local communications radio, uh, it's probably exactly that.
Oof, that thing there. Well, it looks like it's
Um,
melted on top or something. It doesn't even look like it's got any definition. And we can't imagine what's going on with that tower. Looks completely out
cloud,
of place.
clouds are coming in or something.
Not sure. Maybe it's that high.
Yeah.
But look at that thing
Oh,
there.
yeah.
It's
Those.
absolutely fantastic, that one. I love it. Look at her. I'm not sure what's her headwear she's got on, but she's got like two horns.
Yeah, they did that. Yeah, that's a 15th century style or 15th. Yeah, I think that's 15th century. It's medieval. Um,
What's the
the,
real age of photography, UAP? Because I could show you a picture now, and it's not just a camera obscura, it's a camera, and it's showing cine pictures to people in the Middle Ages. I've got a couple of these
oh yeah,
images, you know,
yeah. I
from
found
camera
the same type of
obscura.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what's the real
absolutely.
age of photography? You know, I'm thinking some things we could be looking at the ancient world, like back there, could be
Hmm.
actually in the ancient world. You know, they're playing.
Yeah,
They could play these stage sets over and over again, bringing out the styles over and over again, replicating the dates over and over again, and and they're putting them out for
yeah.
humanity to see, and that's what we're not picking up on. It's like you're telling me they got rid of all that. Yeah, This was only
Yeah.
100 years ago, and then
Right.
everything you see is like the best as the quality. It's just
Yeah.
crisp. Look at a shell, Phoenician shell, and the plasma eyeball on the light. Oh wow!
Mhm.
It's their
Yeah,
carved
and it
crystal.
would lens it, and it would put out a beautiful array of
Yeah,
light
yeah,
on the street, and it'd just be gorgeous, and it would glint,
fantastic,
and it'd just be spectacular. And
fantastic, man.
they just throw it away, dump it in the river or something,
Yeah,
and
that makes perfect sense. And put up a nasty old tower block. Yeah, it's just no. There's something clearly else going on. Something else going on. You know, that up on the hill there as well. So the Acropolis. But that's the old world there, and you can see this any city. Look at the population when they arrive here.
right, and have elevated streets and
Yeah,
railways for
yeah,
crying out loud,
yeah.
and it's the horse and buggy pulling it.
I'm going to
I
show
found
you.
that in Germany, the Wuppertaler Railway, which is that hanging train, the Schwebebahn,
I'm not sure I've seen that one.
the
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
swinging
yeah, yeah. I've
train.
seen it. Yes, yes, yes. Now I know. Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, and
yeah.
it's got a
Fantastic.
sordid history of like construction starts and stops and things like that, and that's definitely old world.
See this
You
thing on
know.
the top of the tower here? It's not there in the modern day, but I got a photo of it close up, and it's just a big coil on top of a big coil on top of a big coil going smaller. I can't see it on that one, but you can see it a bit better now. Huge cable
Hmm.
coming down. I got a close up of it. It's not there in the modern day. They got rid of all that, the tech on that tower. You know, I'm really, really dodgy with these photographs, and I just don't know what to think about any of the past anymore. Honestly, there's so much been hidden. We're finding so much fakery, so much, just obscured from our reality. What's that tower there on top of the tower
Wow,
there? Well,
wow, look at that.
what do you think it is?
Wait.
I know
On
what
the
it
right
is.
side, that's the original spire
Yeah. Like it was
of
put
Notre
there
Dame.
right, but it says in the narrative when it got burnt down, now they're putting, an apiary, etc. But it looks like an aerial there. It's went up in 1850s, and I got pictures of this thing being put up. Yet, I've got like really old maps where nothing's in place, so that's a lie too. Oh, excuse me. There's all cobble there. They're just laying the cobble at this period. You think that that it would be
Like
a
they had dirt roads before that, or what?
well, this is on top of the catacombs, isn't it? That's how you get to them underneath this square. Yeah, this is on the Citadel in Paris, a little tiny island in the Seine, and they appear to just be putting the cobble down for some reason.
Wow.
Yeah,
So the thing about this, if the previous civilization
well,
were found completely dead, they had so many. Maybe I don't know, because it seems like if they could cause the mud flood to just do it as a kind of a wipe after the fact. I
yeah,
don't know. Yeah, I go back and forth with some of the things. Like sometimes I'm certain that it's antediluvian, and then other times I think that's done on purpose by men who are currently in control.
yes,
The same
exactly.
people.
I've been suspicious all along, but this hollow past, this hollow history is bugging me because like two amazing types of classical architecture we can experience in the modern day. Yet when you look at Rome, I got that collection I just showed you the first, you go through it all, and the Minoan Empire or the Byzantine Empire, doesn't matter what you're looking at, and it's a classical thing, but when you dig underneath it's, don't get me wrong, some of this is a huge megalithic structures, but they are all like fake, like higgledy-piggledy, like just not the similar quality that you experience like this.
Right, and it's bricks. It's a lot of times it's bricks, uh,
That's
all the way
shit.
down.
That's shit workmanship. I've worked in stonemasonry. This is just really crude, covered to make it look better. Why would they do
But
that?
what even happened to it?
Well, this is the thing, right? They do them pokey little cannons here, right? So you got this war happening with Russia, excuse me, with the Germans, which are Prussia. This war set up Germany. If this war hadn't happened, Germany wouldn't be here today, right? So they've had a war with the French. Okay, they've taken different cities. They got a siege going on where the occupants. Now this is what I can't get my head around, right? UAP. They say in the narrative, right, that the occupants, the communards, etc., of this city were reduced to eating rats and mice. And when the dogs and cats had run out, there was mass starvation in this city, right? And it gets completely destroyed. With these little pokey cannons are supposed to be doing this turning buildings into dust thing going on that you keep experiencing.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Look at this. Look at this, for pokey little cannons. This is really, granity structures, solid structures. It just makes no sense at all to my head.
Well, the cannons themselves are just unwieldy beasts. You can't. They're horrible.
Yeah.
Articles of war. To get it up the slightest incline in those days would have been a monumental task and not worth the effort. Not worth the effort, in my opinion. It's just it's a ridiculous thing. I know a lot of people diverge when I say I think cannons are not at all what they say they were, because I went and looked to find a video of an actual firing of one of these classic cannonballs, like the size of a bowling ball or a soccer ball, that size of cannonball.
Yeah.
First of all, I always thought they were solid, like to maximize them, but they're hollow balls. But even being hollow iron balls, how do they even how did they make that? But whatever.
No, it's not. There's something else going on.
Heavy.
They're energy weapons or something else. I think what kills it with cannons for me, right, is the human cannonball. They don't set the trajectory or the power in the cannon. They stick a human in there with a motorcycle helmet on there, and they shoot him out of a cannon, and he captures on the other end of the football field in a net. So that is the sort of power out of these big cannons, and they're shooting a ball. You can visibly see it's not moving at light speed or anything. You can visibly see these things, and then there's supposed to be the kinetic combustive wave that causes the damage you're looking at there. Doesn't fit with me. That looks like if nukes were a thing, that a load of heat and energy had hit that at one time. The whole thing, everything in that photograph is just zapped one time, because that's apocalyptic destruction for pokey little cannons of the mid-Victorian era. Which is what they say. But you don't see none of this action going on, There's no battles. It's always after, and you get these. This this is reset.
The first actual, supposedly actual action shot is obviously a staged battle. It's a LARP, live action role play. It's got two sides, and they're facing off in a muddy field, and they're lined up, and it's absolute.
Do you think cannonballs could turn all of this stone and this exterior of the stone into what you see as black dust, which it looks like it's all vitrified together? Do you think a cannonball could do that? Because I really don't. And not even a conventional fire with the heat wouldn't do that. Right. I really don't think so. Look at that.
Well, I got something that'll blow your mind, but it'll take me a minute.
Okay.
But I'll send it to you when I get to it. But we'll keep that thought, because I have an answer that'll just absolutely.
Have you seen this thing?
That's a railway.
It's not just a railway station, right? This thing is a mind blow, right? It's called the Canfranc International Station. I've done a bit of research on it. This thing,
yes,
mind blow.
Yes,
it's in the
Pyrenees.
Pyrenees.
That's the longest building in the world, supposedly, right? It's the
longest building in the world. You got it. It's mind blowing. Do you know what? They stuck it in a valley that's prone to avalanches. The freezes over much of half the year, right? Apparently, this is a really bad place. And when I show you the narrative, there it is. Look, all now in the modern day, it's just abandoned. They left it for what reason? Do you think? It's just. Oh, and I've also been researching Guernica, because part of this narrative for this station is, right, which is insanity to me, right, is it goes through the Pyrenees. It was opened in 1928. Okay, and it's 365 windows, etc. So What was his point? Found this mind-blowing video, right, UAP, and it says this on it. It's about the Canfranc International Station. So it's a for transmitting passengers, baggage and freight between Spanish and French trains, because the French railway, okay, was different gauge. So in France, it's narrow gauge, or it's just a different gauge. Now that don't ring true. I think what we've stumbled upon here, right, is like these selection railway stations for getting rid of some people, is what I think, and I'll tell you why now. Because I was been researching the Spanish Civil War and, you know, Guernica, which is the, you know, when you research Guernica, the only two in comparison with it, okay, for bombardment and death toll are Dresden and Hiroshima. I shit you not. This is in the Spanish Civil War. So they are bringing out people of the Basque region, okay, which I suspect are Tartarians, okay, because these people are not in the Phoenician, you know, thing at all. You know, they've always not been part of it, okay? And they're bringing huge amounts of people here into this place, which is massive. I mean, you know, they got all these things, but they look like stables. It's like almost as if they're putting people in them. And this thing's out. Why did they put it in a place out in the middle of nowhere? Which is why they closed it, UAP. Oh, and they had to disembark them here, okay? Because the train tracks going into France were a different size, and they put the station in the coldest, most inhospitable place. And this simple tunnel, it's one of the longest tunnels on Earth. Yeah, this thing should show curvature if it was a thing. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you how long it goes for now. There you are. This tunnel is 7,875 metres. 25,000 foot in length, and I bet you could see a dot of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I bet you any money there's no curvature on that thing.
Gravitational lensing.
Yeah, they bent the light, UAP. I don't think Einsteinian gravity is applicable on Earth's surface, but who knows? Will it? But yeah, this thing's anomalous, man, and you know, it's closely tied in with the Spanish Civil War, which is mind-blowing itself. You've got to ask yourself, why are they cleaning out, you know, huge areas of Spain? Why are so many people dying? Look at this thing. To me, it's a disembark station, right? They're getting people out, they're selecting them, and something else clearly is going on here. The narrative for, you know, the different gauges, and yet they closed it down because it's avalanchy, it's inhospitable, they get the most stinking weather imaginable, and events like mudslides and stuff. Yeah, does that make sense? This stuff just falls away in it. No, I know. And it's spoiling Tartarian. Is that tunnels? Yeah, it might be. That would be interesting if it had tunnels underneath. Indeed it has. What's that? The site includes a large locomotive depot, 2 sheds. Okay, so they had them things with depots. Huge depots. So I'm not believing the narrative on that. There's something else clearly going on, okay, with that building, and I'll show you why now. Because they get people, after this bombing at Guernica, which is one of the worst bombings in history, apparently. The Basques had taken on railway, a lot of them, and they're put through this area, which the only way to France from the north is through the Pyrenees, and yeah, they got to stop off in this place, which is a disembarking change bullshit place. It's just, I think that place is closed down because I think there was something else big time nasty going on with it. So yeah, the Luftwaffe, the German Luftwaffe, way before World War II, 1937, yeah, they had literally bombed the shit out of Guernica, okay, for Franco. So the British don't do nothing, they don't declare war on the Germans, yet the Germans have done this to a Tartarian city. This city looked like Dresden, this city was out of this world. Yeah, same thing. They say for the bombs that were dropped compared to the amount of people, the only, like I said, the only ones that compare are Dresden and Hiroshima in the narrative. So yeah, Guernica is a definite key. What the fuck is this? Luftwaffe, 10 King Sentry bombs. They did 1936. So it was well before World War II. The Luftwaffe were destroying cities in Europe. You know, this thing was painted by Picasso, Guernica. These are supposed to be like the people in the streets, you know, and this is depicting the horror that's supposed to have happened at Guernica. It was like a bit of a nightmare.
But Well, what I find is if you go back to the verifiable history of any city that's bombed, that they knew ahead of time when it would be
Oh,
bombed
for
and they
sure.
evacuate it.
Yeah, I agree completely. I agree completely. Yeah.
It's more akin to like what's going on now, where the government tells you you have to do this, or like or else, and people just comply and
Hmm.
don't question how they could even know, and they just go do it. And if anybody's going to stay, then there's some carnage. But other than that, it's not a huge loss of life. But then
Hmm.
afterwards, like the cities, the cities were mostly empty all along. When you go back into the 1800s, most of the cities are overbuilt for the number of people that they
Oh,
have.
for definite.
And yeah, and I find that they just have districts, and the people are just brought up seemingly for generations already at that point that
Yeah, established money
it's
as well. Established money. Like what you find with the
right,
Winchesters and stuff. You know.
right. It's all it's all society run, and then they have like a district that's always like blocked off with this tall fence, and it's just nobody, you don't even look at it, you don't talk. I could just tell the sentiment that they have about it, that district is off limits. You don't go there, you don't talk about it,
Hmm.
you don't even look at it. It's just forget about it. You can't buy land there. It's just fenced off, and that's what they're probably photoshopping out with the white skies and everything. That looks like a like a jet trail up there, but I don't know what.
Well, that line there.
Yeah,
Hmm. It doesn't it? Well, it might be just a photograph. These are old. These are just LA, but at this stage, there's hardly anyone around, and it looks like Tartaria, and the city's apparently only 40 years old at this stage. But
well, we'll go back and look at that. There was an object at the end. I mean,
well,
I haven't been looking at UFOs in a long time, but that caught my eye. Zoom in on that, on the jet trail, like what's
oh,
producing it.
oh yeah, oh I got it. It's like a little thing at the beginning of it, and then a little white
Yeah.
line, and there's another one there as well.
Hmm. It's like a TR3B.
Listen, UFOs, as you know, UAP are not off the table for me. I've had
No.
experiences and I've seen plenty. Me and my wife seen one the size of Wembley Stadium, and that's a fact. I could
Hmm.
have thrown a stone at it, UAP, it was that close. Look at this tech on the roofs of LA. And,
Yeah.
these towers to get up into the stronger or the more powerful electrostatic charge. This is why they all go so high. But look at this thing, look at this city, it's established, it's old. LA is a mind blow, I reckon, for mud floods. All of the well, all of America is, but this red granite style as well, solid
Yeah. Yeah.
built to
Many
withstand.
universities built like that. So yeah.
And it's all with the four clock towers. I think they were replaced. I think
Right.
they were something else at some stage as well. And
Well, I,
they
I have kind of an
all of
idea of what it might be.
them.
There are two
Gone.
possibilities. Yeah, see those. One possibility is that it may have been like a clock every other one. That would make more sense.
Mm.
Oh, there's a balloon. Go back.
Where?
Well, in on the bottom left, pictured.
Oh yes, nicely spotted. I can't mag up more. There's a picture of an air balloon there. Yeah. Oh, isn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
Huh.
Look how deep this mud is.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no need to
But but
cut
they
that away.
but the devices they had in there, I think. See, there's more clocks like above it. Like, why would you do that?
I
They
don't know.
they
I'm
were
seeing it in my
they're
city too.
portals.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering about the clocks and the four clocks. I know, all right, it's facing four directions, exact, etc.
Mhm.
But the replacement and this clock in Cincinnati as well. There's another one I seen in, I can't pronounce, Spokane. Is it Spokane? Is that how you
Spokane.
pronounce
Yeah.
it? Yeah, another
Spokane.
yeah, another beautiful city. With the architecture like this, or Portland, and another city like Portland, and all of these
Yeah, they're
destroyed,
everywhere.
destroyed.
In a small town in Ohio, there's one that is facing out like a pretty close to a wall. Like it couldn't have been a clock. Absolutely could not have been a clock. And One of them I saw was a church in New York City that they burnt, and the flames coming out of it,
Huh.
that was insane. I mean, it was like a enormous blowtorch just blasting flame out at
Hmm.
at just an unbelievable amount of combustion and orange flame just blasting out like a blast furnace. I can't imagine how it could have been like that, but that's it's in a video, Burnt History.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those dome things, them onions again. But that one's got like serrated in it, like well, it's tile overlay, what have you. But it looks the same sort of thing, doesn't it? You know, as an array or one of those weapons. What is that pole? What you notice, UAP, as well, right, with these old photographs is they know plumb lines, yet they don't seem to be able to put a telegraph pole up straight. They're all really wonky. What's going on with that? There's two sorts. You've got the free energy ones, which are just beautifully lined up, and you've got these other ones with a telegraph on, which are all just, they can't put a plumb line on them. It's just these things. These are always
Mhm.
crooked and put up really crudely. What for the
Look at that one.
telegraph?
It's just janked up there because they
Excuse
had
me.
it stacked. They didn't bury the pole. They just stacked up sandbags or something.
Huh.
I was in the other photo.
Oh, the one
Uh,
just further back. Excuse me. Okay.
I don't remember if it was back or forward. Yeah, there.
Mm.
See, they just piled on the base of it
All right. Shit.
just
Yeah.
to hold it up. It's not permanent, or it's just they don't know how to drive a pole down. They don't have the equipment or something, or post hole digger or whatever.
Doesn't look like
When
there's
they
anything on it either. There's no wires on it.
Yeah, that's staged. Like when they have these, like the building on the left is
Yeah.
what they'll have you believe that they use. Look at the base of that.
Do you know?
It's just the
It's
very
just
bottom. It has no foundation.
exactly.
It's
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 just
a
it looks staged. It really does. Look, why does they taught us all the way through school and our childhood about the Wild West, yeah, and this is how it was. But in the reality, in all of these places, like for example, this one here, which is supposed to be in the Wild West days, you've got huge cities with skyscrapers. They don't
right.
ever show you that. Maybe in Gone with
Nope.
the Wind, they'll show a bit of Atlanta with masonried buildings, but I can't think of any other cowboy film where they show you what the world actually looked like back then.
Right. Yeah, the Wild West is
This is what it looked
completely
like,
made up,
and they're not
or
showing you.
or even more so. Yeah.
You know,
I
it's
mean, they had
crazy.
the huge skyscrapers there
Excuse me.
pretty early on in the
Wow,
1880s. Oh yeah.
how old is that? and the beauty of it is it's a mosque, isn't it? Yes, in LA, and I've got pictures
Yeah.
of mosques in St. Louis, and this is the Moorish Tartarian feel, etc. And it's in.
And
Excuse
it's
me.
true in modern Tartaria
What
that
about that?
it's Christians and Muslims living side by side in peace and harmony. It's always, I think it's been that way all around. Oh yeah, that
Top of that
is
tunnel railway thing.
hmm
Yeah.
that
Angel Stairs. It's called
they
Angel
you
Stairs.
know in the World's Fair they had something like that with a box on the end of it, and it was lit up, and they were moving people around in it. Just kind of, it was like a cherry picker,
Yeah.
like a fair ride type thing, and just swinging people around in it. Probably pretty fast. I know the film was sped up, but even if you slowed it down to regular speed, it was pretty fast.
I think there
Yeah,
might have
these
been a
these
few
homes
then.
these homes were everywhere
Look at
in
that.
like L.A. and San Francisco, and
Oh, this world.
they just knocked them all around.
You can see this place is established, for them to claim. These photos are from the LA Water Board, and they're, quite early, but are they laying them down or are they already there? I'm not sure. And what are
Look at
they
how
for?
clean that, like how that's dug out. That's so.
Right. So they're supposed to be laying water pipes, so you would have one big one. Well, what are all these different tubes? It's just, I've been wondering what it's for. I don't think they say it's water, but it's almost as if cables are going through these or something. It's
Hmm.
crazy.
Well, you know what I found about the
It's got one there.
this. Look at the scale too. Like I don't know, something's off about it. But
Something's off. I can feel
yeah,
that as well. I can feel that.
the undersea cables that supposedly run, transatlantic, which we know pretty much runs along the land, but the reason that they ran them a little bit off from the straightest possible line when I was researching it
Yeah.
in 1856, I think they started laying it using the Great SS Great Eastern.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, it was Brunel's
That
great ship, but I'm not buying that
yeah,
either because
no, no, it's a
it's supposed
joke.
to have ended its life, on the Mersey near Liverpool in the mud. After
It,
this things, it was down to it wasn't cost effective on coal. It's a bit like Concourse, not a cost
right,
effective.
and after all of this, it had cabins supposedly to carry 4,000 people.
No.
I did a video on that one. It was a maiden voyage.
Yeah.
The enormous, one of a kind steam engine blew up. You know, it's so massive. It's got the most capacity, and they were just taking it up to speed, and still, it just oh well, it blew up.
Yeah, I posted about it a while ago when they were trying to basically get it to go into the river in the first place with these humongous chains for giants. He died
Yes,
during all
yeah.
that, Brunel. He apparently had a bit of a
Oh
stroke.
yeah, right. They stage acted that one too.
Well, I researched Brunel, and you'll find what they did is what they do with a lot of their Phoenician bullshit is they attribute it to their people. So when you research Brunel, it was attributed to the Bristol Suspension Bridge, and you take a
Oh
look at
yeah,
it, it says it was built by so and so under the instruction of this Brunel company. So he just guessed the name for it, but he didn't actually, you know, build them.
right.
It was just attributed to him. That's one of
Yeah,
those. I think these were lighting a lot
all
as
those
well.
architects.
Yeah,
Yeah,
arc lights. That
mm, yeah.
one, but
Architect.
yeah, arc as well. A thing of
Yeah.
beauty. What's that? A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Oh, I go with that definitely. And there's no place like home. Well, that's an unusual thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The mud
And
flooded
the
world. Wow.
and all these stairs and just
Yeah.
I keep going back to this joke that they figure that they love to do stairs,
Wow.
because in the era before elevators, they were building buildings not quite that tall, but
No.
they had water elevators and some amazing things. I think the Flatiron Building is a Flatiron Building. Yeah, it has a early water elevator.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
But that's really early, that one. I mean, there's no Empire State of that
You,
period.
you know what?
Or Chrysler.
That picture really is awesome.
I
I
know.
haven't seen this one before,
Oh, it is
and
awesome.
I studied. Oh wow! Look at the left there.
You can go
Go.
right down to a battery park as well.
Yeah,
That
but
bit's the
just
old
just
Starfort
a
as well, that rotunda of battery
yeah.
packs. Yeah. It's like a
And
map of
then,
it on
but
you.
above that, this building, that building is still there out to the left, like just north of Battery or just above Battery Park,
This thing here.
all the way over, one more over. Yeah, it's kind of behind it,
Hmm.
to the left there. It's it's against the water pretty much, but
All right.
yeah, that building was still there when the World Trade Center fell.
Well,
It's
that's
just
where it would have
amazing to
been.
me.
Yeah, by there, isn't it? Or by there somewhere.
The World Trade Center, yeah, went right in about there.
Wow. Just mind blowing. There's this big thing in the background as well. This chunk here, I'm not sure what that is. Is it going up? It's just, how thick is
Oh
that thing?
wow, that's yeah. It and when I did a study on Metropolis, and I also did a study on New York City's um, the supposed fictional New York City of various depictions of art that popped up through the years. I found some of these so-called artistic concepts, supposedly by architects, for what New York City could look like in the future.
Yeah,
I think was actually a depiction of the past,
I know what you
and I bet,
mean. Yeah, I reckon
and
it is
the
too.
buildings looked a lot like this, but it was much more spectacular.
Yeah, like we imagine it all to be back in the, that
Well,
era.
like these pyramid type buildings like those.
What is that?
There are a lot of them. That I don't know.
Ah. I thought it
There
was
are.
trees, and I thought, well, it can't be that high because it would be up there on the skyscraper. And there's a pyramid, little like, oh, I can't
Well,
tell.
it could be the Dennis Arch that got moved.
Right.
Could be. Could
It's
be.
by a park, yeah. Wow, what a shot that! It's fantastic, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Imagine moving that one of those arches just for the hell of it. The Dennis Arch they moved, and yeah.
Yeah. Wow. The world was just fantastic back then compared to now. And they can't build anything like this. They wouldn't even, everything is just decorated. They just leave nothing out. Look at this. The door at the top of the door is there, UAP. Check that out. There's the top of the door. You have
Billiards. I'm sure.
That is just crazy, that one. And always the bank on the corner. The bank, that's part of it, isn't it? Phoenician dialect is the bank, like, river bank or sea bank.
Well, yeah, every city has this certain layout, and they have a narrative for what the things are supposed to be. John Levi showed, I think he picked up on the fact of, you always see these, when they have the tram lines, they always run and make a bend or something around one of these octagonal, like gazebo type buildings, and yeah, that thing. But the octagon is always associated with like the tram lines, and so they had universal layout for these towns. You knew by the shape and type of the building what happened in the building, an institutional type thing that every town would have, and even that was lost. It's so hodgepodge now.
See that picture there?
Yeah, that's Pennsylvania, right?
No, man. That is, believe it or not, Venice Beach in LA. That's what it looked like until 1930s. Okay. And the city's out of this world. If you look into Venice Beach after this, they put all it looked like Venice. They had these beautiful buildings and all of these canal systems, and
they tore that up too. They tore it up
too. Let's have a look at this. This is interesting. So this is the equipment they had, UAP, steam powered.
Yes, this is the photo I was talking. I had a few of these. This is the construction of one of the London Underground tunnels, and this construction site is a mess. It's a joke. It's abysmal.
It is abysmal.
It's a disgrace.
People would die.
Oh yeah.
Look at the shoring up here. It's just everything. I've worked on sites.
I would kick ass. You guys are an embarrassment. I know. You got to clean this place up and look sharp and get organized. And what the hell?
You know why it is, don't you? Because you're an American and you can, and I'm an American and I can't. That's what it is.
Well, somehow they did. They did.
Yeah, look at that though, right? UAP, right? The brick, right, goes under all the muck. If they just backfilled it as they're going that way, coming from this direction, can't really work it out. Right. But I've got evidence of these piers being put in with no excavation underneath, and I'm just wondering, what's holding, or supporting without piers either side when they dig it out, because the whole thing would collapse in on itself. So to me, they're digging it out.
Wheelbarrow. They're walking the plank with the wheelbarrow like.
Crazy.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Look at all this, the mess, and
yeah,
people would just definitely die. So I'm convinced 100% the railways are older. There's enough. I could show you a dozen photographs of railway lines being dug out, a meter deep in mud.
Well, the thing about how deep does it go? That question comes up a lot, and I looked at Manchester in England. And the bricks that go down, and they go down and down and down 8 levels, and we're talking 20, 25 foot high levels in some cases, because there's one room down there in this complex that got unearthed that's the size of a cathedral, and it's just a chamber among hundreds of chambers supposedly made by a society man who just was so kind, because after the Crimean War or something, that the local men had nothing to do, so he paid them to move bricks from one side of his property to the other on purpose. And then he got to a point where he said, well, we could just start digging and start laying bricks and making substructures. And the narrative is absolutely ludicrous. And it just goes on and on. There's no end. They haven't found the end yet. They just excavate, 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 bricks all the way down, all the way across, every direction, pretty much. It's astounding. And I think almost every town has that. I've seen some drawings where they depict like a cross section, and they show bricks all the way down.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that myself. I have, yeah.
Yeah.
It's clearly there. It's clearly there already.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, shot. What you're looking at there is the building of the embankment on the Thames in London. But what fascinates me is these buildings. They're all, you know, sort of biblical themes. You see these in some of these old depictions. It looks like Buckingham Palace, but the whole building is up there, really. And this bit is like, you know, for water, underwater, and, you know, they sort of get off and go in this way. But look at that underneath that building. It's like Solomon's Temple. And what's with them columns? Very much like Solomon's Temple. So,
and that's a government building, right?
Yeah, again, this thing is up, okay? Isn't it? And what's with these brickworks in the back with the... we could have pictures clear, and it looks like...
Well, it's interesting to me that it's a government building, and it was built so high up, like you said, as if water... They knew what was coming.
Oh, this is
meant to last.
This is interesting, UAP. Look at the levels. This guy down here, he must be 50 foot above this, below this ground level here, yet they got these pillars in, and the ground level's this high. So how deep is the grade? I don't understand what's going on here. And look at these things over here, these arches. These look like they're old.
Yeah.
Look how much shit they're digging out of there. It's just, wouldn't they do that before they put... No, that thing, that frame is older.
It's excavation, yeah.
That frame is older.
And these buildings like this, I think they were for dirigibles. Almost every town had them.
Yeah,
they use them in the
expeditions. Yeah, I feel for sure, definitely. That was what they were doing, these things, a barrage or a balloon or a zeppelin would just fit beautifully into here. Yeah, I definitely think that's part of it, 100%. Otherwise, why are they identical to them?
And they have them today. For the airships that they're making one after the other, but we never see.
Why does that backdrop look fake, UAP?
I know. I've looked at this one too. I've looked at all these exact same construction photos. Yeah, and it's there. I mean, that we know that's still there. What is that?
St Paul's Cathedral
in London. Yeah.
In London, this is like the Paternoster Square area of London, not far from St Paul's.
It's one of the most magnificent structures even today in London.
Yeah, but the narrative is just, you know, Sir Christopher Wren, and they'll say this, right, that when Sir Christopher Wren went in the ruined St Paul's, the old one, that got burnt down in 1666, that reset, he goes in there and he says to, he wants to make a plumb line or a string line for his first plan. And he says to his assistant, go get me a stone. And the boy come back with a stone, and it said resurgi on the stone, which is to rise from the flames, like the phoenix. So they run that narrative with the building of this. And you can go in there today, and you can see that stone. It's over a door. It's supposed to be the first stone, you know, of the rebuilding. So that's the narrative. Check this out, right? This is supposed to be rebuilt, right, or a new building. So why is it all covered in, like, pollution and shit, and yours looking, like, really old? When it's a new build, you see that?
Oh yeah, is that like a St. Pancras or Euston Station or something?
They all look pretty much identical, really, but it's a London station for sure. But you know, there's been no trains coming through here. They just lay in this. So what's all of this soot and shit? How long's this thing been up? You know, to me, this superstructure was already in place. Possibly a lot of the steel. They come in, replace the glass, like they did with the Crystal Palaces.
It's for airships.
That is old. You can see that, can you?
Definitely for airships. It looks exactly like the ones they had for the exhibitions in Chicago and for sure the White City had one of the biggest ones of those.
And it is again the underground, apparently.
And right next to those, they had these huge cannons that were just absolutely enormous that they credited to German gun maker. I forgot which one, but it was just a silly story that they made these enormous cannons. Brought them all the way to Chicago
Mm.
just to display for no profit or anything. I mean, nobody paid tickets to see them or whatever. It was just an impossible, just an impossible story.
Wow.
There's no background. There's no horizon in that last one.
What's
Like
this? Oh, right, that's underground again. And these are these stations just put up all conveniently
Kensington.
ready, is it? Is that Metropolitan? But see, this is this Phoenician thing. Anything with like Atropolis or Politan on the
Are you
end.
buying that banner that
No,
said
my how?
Kensington Station? It looks a
No,
little temporary, haphazard kind of like I wonder if it has tacks holding it up or
I don't know.
scotch tape
It
and
can't be in
glue.
Kensington, can it? Because Kensington is like, Kensington. It's not all nice there, I don't suppose. So there you
I
go.
like to compare those banners to like the quality of the construction materials. There's the oldie ladder lane on the left.
Yeah, yeah.
You gotta have it
Wow,
always.
we're killing it on the ladders tonight, UAP. Anyway, I keep
I get in
forgetting I'm going to
trouble.
record this
I
live. This
get
will be going up tomorrow. So if there are people watching, thanks for
I
watching.
get
Please share this out.
yeah.
And make sure to subscribe to myself and UAP channel. We're doing some more of these UAP, aren't we? And we're going to get people along for some think
Yes,
tanking, get some answers.
that's what we're talking about.
I think it's bearing great fruit. I really do. Look at this fucking tower here. What the hell is that? Wow, what
Well,
would be its purpose outside of technology, really? A looking observation post? And that's the River Fleet. It's under London, but they're supposed to have bricked it over. Because
oh yeah,
there was a few. Wait, under Fleet Street, this is, and that's only
yeah.
1854. They're saying this happened, but actually repairing, which is an existing, what they say is Roman sewer. Until it was supposed to be the biggest undergoing in industrial history was the London sewer system, which was because of the big stink that they had to push forwards after that 1854 and
Yeah,
the
and they built
miasma.
it for 6 million capacity, right?
Yeah, man, you got it.
When the population was what,
Well,
like
now it's
one?
7 and 7.5, closer to 8 million. I know UAP. It's just crazy. These are good. These ones here these ones of the antique world. It's just you can see the whole thing's been built for giants. There's no doubt about it. Excuse me. Oh, where are they? They are. But there's something off again. It's that same hue. And that one's an impressive monument. Look at the size of the people to that. And what had been his purpose, but exactly the
Uh,
same inside. This,
is it
back.
solid or
Sorry.
hmm, is it solid? It's bricks. It looks like on the left.
Well, they're quite large bricks, and these anomalous chimneys or whatever they are. But again, this looks like medieval England. What we find with our castles is this very crude concrete and stone or pebble as backfill. So what I'm trying to imagine is what would the purpose of that building be if you couldn't step inside it? You see what I'm saying? It would just be a big clump with stones all around it. What exactly
Mhm.
could that have been when it's backfilled?
Um, well, I was looking at
Weird.
locations for the Tower of Babel, and it was
Oh, I have.
the footers for that thing. If that's what they were way more massive than that.
Something
There's these
really.
guys with their tiny wankers.
Yeah, what's going on with the Phoenicians? Why haven't they got normal penises like normal men? What's going on? They're all like 3-year-olds or something. Look, what the fuck? That's it there, that tiny little thing there, UAP. You had trouble holding that when he was pissing. He just probably
It's
just.
it's a Microsoft, man.
Oh, hang on a minute. But look at this, right? This is what you're getting with the Phoenicians, right? Is
It's
you've got a
now it's
lot
a
of them with
woman.
boobs, but this one's got his hair like a chick. And he's even looking like, well, he's got the nose.
Well, where is this from?
This is just what you find with these photographs under closer examination, right? Is the classical world okay, which is replicated in World War II by Hitler, which he styles everything on neoclassicalism. And then, but it seems like this event, okay, is much more recent than we might imagine. The mud,
Mhm.
because Rome's supposed to be well-established city by the 1860s when these photographs, some of them a little bit later. Look at that though. Look at that. This wall would have carried water. I've seen this monument on many maps and stuff in the ancient world, and
That's definitely Photoshop background there. It's
what is
not
it
natural.
ever? Is it ever? Look at the cropping. They've messed it right up. Your UAP.
Mhm. And there's stuff growing out of the top, so that's like antediluvian, in my opinion. It's really old,
Oh,
huge,
it's not the
buried.
word.
Yeah,
Look at that ivy stuff
yeah.
on it. It's just
Now these depictions, like the one you just showed with like the angelic beings and the kind of androgynous.
you'll see a lot of that in these. This collection is absolutely superb. It's the earliest I can find. I collect Rome photos. I haven't seen earlier than these at the
I
moment.
want to I want to take a minute and read something that I got from an architect who
Cool.
mailed me, and and I won't say his name because I don't know if it's okay for to do that. But
Okay.
I'll just kind of share kind of his sentiments, paraphrase here, where he did research over the years, and he said that looking at like the books about architecture that are dated with the I, like as an I
Oh,
540.
right.
He found some detailed cross sections through columns and pedestals revealing their inner workings to contain mostly water driven gears to rotate statues to show time, calendar dates, and other information.
Is that so?
hmm So those haphazard bricks and things that you found in those are filler for what they took out uh, that actually filled those finely made columns. That's what that's telling me. And then
Hmm.
he said some of these books were also surveys of ancient biblical cities that were thought to be long gone, but it's included right in there.
Got you.
So they somehow knew about it because it's not that old.
Oh.
Some books documented so-called resets told by survivors, mostly about floods. And
Hmm.
I guess that's all that he says there. So yeah, it's pretty validating. I'm gonna continue the conversation about these things.
Try to, yeah. I've spoke to a lot of architects. I know quite a few established architects who are completely on board with mud flood and everything we've discovered. No problem at all. I've spoken to architects out there in the world. One of them was got rather embarrassed. I said, "Well, what would be the sense of having the bottom story below ground level and top heavy buildings, etc., and stairs in the air in cold countries? What would be the sense?" He said, "Oh, I think it was in vogue at the time when they built them." In vogue. I think you're right about the arches. I just dawned on me. They got rooms inside them, okay, so like offices. So imagine you come through, you're an army, maybe you're magnetized or something from using electromagnetic weapons or something. What if the columns, because maybe they were replaced after, or the covers or something, maybe there was something around this, some maybe electrum or some sort of covering. Maybe it could demagnetize. Maybe it was even for plague, for spraying, like in the modern day. Something like that,
Mhm.
because I think they could have used this fake narrative many times in the past, really, to lock down the
Well,
population, no problem.
well, a lot of people believe that you have these various like I'm not saying that I believe it, but it just kind of goes along with it with these electrical living beings.
Mm.
Some call them entities that
Yeah,
attach to people
yeah, I believe it's
and
true.
that type of stuff. And maybe there's a way to cleanse that. Who knows? I mean,
Look, I think
everything's on the
I think
table.
anyone's prone to it, and it's the same with illness. I think illness and disease is that. I think it's that. It's like, call them what you want. Archons, I call them parasites, or parasites, or whatever you want, right? Demons that mess with your psyche. Okay. If you're on a lower vibrational experience, you're going to get it all the more. If you're drinking alcohol quite a bit, maybe smoking cigarettes with it, that's a depressant. Anything that will put you on a depressant sort of vibration, you will be subject to more attacks from demonic entities. Yeah? And the only way to clear that is basically just get clear. Realize what it is and cancel it out, and it goes away. You can identify it. You can identify it. So you know, I'm wondering where it's coming from. It just slings out of the ether. Some of it's absolute nonsense.
Well, there's some stuff I've found with that, because I don't hold back. I study everything. So I've been studying astrology, and I learned about like the tables of Toledo.
Right.
And they had these astrological sciences that was a very legitimate science and should still be, but thousands of years old, very refined, and it had it down to such predictive ability. It's nothing like what they tell you, like the fortune telling and this will happen, this type of stuff. It's proclivities, it's humors, they called it. And so different days, depending on the astrological charts, you're going to have proclivity for one thing or the other. And even during different times of the day, you're going to have various proclivities. And so in these towns, they had these devices like the fountains, oftentimes, those huge fountains. They weren't just decorative. They were telling the townspeople what the astrological charts were predicting for that particular day. So then when they would go there to get water in the morning, because they had kind of a rustic lifestyle, I think, when it was communal, and they would go and meet each other at like in the Bible, like the meeting at the well, it'd be like the fountain. And I have a mind that the biblical times people were like about 12 to 15 feet tall, because it's in so many depictions, and those fountains match that kind of stature. And so the woman at the well and all that stuff, it's not necessarily a well, it's more like just a water fountain. But not only, they're not just dumb, like getting the water and they're only thinking about that. This whole water fountain had lights and colors, maybe music. It had arms, gears, and things that told you not only the time, all the things that like the astrolabe will tell you, but it tells you the various astrological predictions. It was also programmable, it said, what I was reading. And at different various times of the day, like how the Muslims pray at different times of the day.
Yeah, sure.
These different times of the day like that, you're going to have a shift of one proclivity or another. It also, depending a lot on the particular day in astrology. And this would affect their planning, because they wanted things so perfect that they would factor in all of these things. It was so much better. Like, we watch this fake news, not we, but, and it doesn't help you in your day. But what they did when they got their news, it was telling them, that, this planet is placed in this constellation right here. And so at this time of day, it'd be a good time to do this or that. And, so that the tables of Toledo are kind of probably the best one place where a lot of that was captured, but it was far, far more immense in terms of a body of knowledge than that represents. But that's what I think a lot of those clocks were. It's also having to do with the atmospheric electricity, because the tides are not just ocean water, but there are electrical tides.
They could have been. They could have been astronomical clocks, because look at that one in Czechoslovakia, that double one. Have you seen it on that in Prague?
Oh yeah, that's extremely
mind blower.
Yeah, it's got all kinds of information.
It is
almost like an astrolabe.
Like an astrolabe. It's a bit like an antiquator device, if you like. It's complicated. It covers a lot. Yeah. So yeah, I thought about that. Well, I think all the clocks. Some of them, I know it sounds crazy, but there's a clock in Prague as well, on a synagogue actually. It made it to the book. It goes in reverse. They can tell the time equally in reverse at some period. So
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
Strasbourg
wondering
has one.
whether they actually. I know it just sounds crazy. I know it does, but you know, with these, I posted this a couple of days ago. If I still got it, it's here somewhere. It's basically no, I lost it. It was the Spanish, the exposition in Paris, okay, and they had like it's exhibits, isn't it? It's exhibits, yes. So they got
That's
showing
what they
you,
say.
yeah, but they're showing you like entire. It's set up like a mall for a start off, right? Which is just what's going on. Like, are they selling this stuff? No, it's just to look at. So one thing shows you a load of, excuse me, where is it? Paris. A load of hairbrushes, what have you. But one place shows you. Where's my albums? Shows you clocks. A whole. There you are. There they are. A whole thing full of clocks. And I'm wondering whether they introduced time at this period. Check this out. What do you make of that, UAP? This is from the Great Expositions, yeah, of Paris. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a battery or something, huh?
You know,
It's a battery bank to me.
it's got four angels or four things on it that could be magnets, maybe reverse polarity. This thing looks a bit like a Van de Graaff generator, and it's definitely feeding something down into these cells. I would say that is an energy gatherer that could have been on the top of a spire, because it's the shape of a spire, and down in the spire where it levels out, it could have been these, which were collecting.
Yes,
Yeah?
the spheres are extremely telling.
Yeah.
So I found this book. Right, Sub sent it to me. It's a book written in the 1880s. I think it was 1888, and it was about atmospheric electricity.
Yeah.
And they talked about the use of a sphere to store the electrical energy that comes in and out in the tides, and that's where I was learning about the electrical tides. So because each locale has a positive, usually it's a positive bias to the air. It shifts negative right around thunderstorms, and then I think it does something like that when there's an eclipse.
I'd see there was an interaction between that and.
Yeah, and so there's like a daily, like a normal shift, like a tide, but then also other things affecting it. The moon does. Yeah, that looks like one. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just wondering. We've wondered about ships, haven't we, UAP? And they're just in this great exposition of Paris. They're displaying a ship's mast, which looks like got technology on the top.
Well, have you seen like ones that just are very much apparently electric ships?
I have, indeed, I have. Posted a
and they
couple
have the sails.
ago.
They don't have their sails up,
but
they're trolling just like today. They troll in the harbor with their secondary motor or whatever it is, and they're not rowing and their sails aren't up, but they maneuver. Like, how would they have done it? Like, does anybody ask the question, how did they maneuver in the harbors? Because you put up sail in the harbor and you're asking for trouble.
Tugs.
There
it is, and it's set up. So.
Oh wow.
It's an energy gatherer of sorts.
It's a battery charger.
There. Yeah, it's a battery charger, isn't it? Because this is no different to cells on a battery, is it really?
No. And what the batteries look like to me, because all this stuff is so recent, I recognize those as what we were told were milk jugs.
Yeah. Milk jars. Maybe they were reused as well. This one's a mind blower.
Yeah, because you can find everything today. These glass insulators are everywhere.
Oh, for sure, they're just everywhere. But what we can find, right, was this collection of this great exposition, right? Okay, the 1889 one. Is they want us to believe that somebody, in a bird's eye perspective on every photograph, took the time to draw all of that with changing light, which I got told by an artist would probably take a week just to do this one picture, right? When they could have took a photograph, no problem, and captured the whole thing in one go. Why? Is that evidence? Pencil drawings? And how are they doing it? You know, I mean, it's just the effort. It's some other technology. It has to be, oh, we're just being having a wool pull over our eyes on a monumental scale about the
Oh
past,
yeah.
and which is,
And
I feel, is
a,
going on.
yeah, and a similar photo, like an actual photo from the Chicago White City 1893
Yeah,
exhibition,
yeah.
they show the same thing. And you know what I saw at the top was plastic sheeting like pinned up to the roof because the ceiling was leaking because it's an old building.
Yeah, yeah, leaky roof. And they destroyed all of the exposition of Chicago and St. Louis and made excuses for any buildings that are left. And there's only a few, Rotundas and stuff. And they all spoil like the ancient world and better architecture. So this is our evidence that this thing is actually from that period. Is they can't take photographs. They'll hire or commission an artist to sit there and draw all this instead of taking a photograph. And there are one or two, and they look weird as well. They look like they are. If that's a photograph, is it? Difficult to determine. Again, is that a pencil drawing? How is that done? And this is the place for clocks. You know, it's almost as if like everything's about time, and they got this spring and it's this mechanism you keep seeing with their depictions. What if they, you know, the people came up, they show them how the New World is, who's ruling, and the Phoenicians and everything else, and their technology. Look at this one. What do you reckon that does, UAP? It's a graph generator there, and they got 4 arrays pointing out like you would on 5G in the modern day.
And it exactly matches like a magnetic dipole. Well, that looks like something you'd see in a church there at the top.
For sure. For sure, but it's got 4 angels, so, you know, imagine they was maybe magnetic opposites. If this was charged in the middle, it could cause a toroidal.
And it's funny too because
Yeah.
it also matches our realm because you have the 4
Oh,
corners
it
of the
is.
Earth,
Yeah, microcosm
the
of
dome.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, I agree completely. That's exactly what they done. They used the electromagnetic structure of this place and they replicated it on the small. That's what Tesla did. Tesla
yep.
took it.
It
Tesla
only
was
has
there.
4 pillars though, not 5. But yeah.
Yeah. But these that's not a photograph, right? It's just if that is a photograph, what you find is these this is like a mall, and it's exhibits. They're not to buy, but it's everything that you would
Right.
need. Why would you need to go and look at maybe 100 hairbrushes or all the
It's almost like
curtains? You know?
it's a test. They take the absolute advances of a previous civilization that just got times up, wiped out, and
Yes.
they take the spoils of it and they display it
Isn't
to
it
all these.
ever exactly
It's
like
like
that?
a video game. Here's your training course.
Yeah,
Boom, boom, boom. This is what's possible. Now go.
it's
And
exactly
and
like
then
that
people have
feeling.
their horses and their buggies, and
Yeah.
they have to build their way back up
Yeah. Well, this happened in
before
World War
time's up.
Two. People were given mansion houses as long as they didn't ask what happened to the previous occupants. People were happy to take them. I think with this culture just showing up in such a manner, and it's this thing here ready. You
No,
know,
that
they could
was
have like just introduced time. You know, this thing just doesn't feel like now it's starting to feel like that we're looking at somewhere else. You know, just the
mhm.
evidence is not there. They're showing us pencil drawings for something that's at this period, 1889, photographs been around over 40 years, but they can't manage to show us the first greatest accomplishment of the British Empire, which was his first exposition in the world. Right?
Hmm.
Does that make sense? They would have photographed it.
Yeah,
They would have photographed it.
yeah, they would.
Yeah.
They were too busy
United
doing
States.
portraits with phony backdrops. Uh,
They like sort of introduce each country as well, because that's what I noticed. Is it's like almost as if they have the United States, they'll have another country next door. So you go in and you see there's a whole hall telling you what the United States is about. So they're like it's sort of like an education. You know, this is the world, this is the globe, because this is included in expositions as well. I notice time,
oh,
countries,
yeah.
who's in power. Don't touch upon too many religious concepts in these. I've noticed that it's full Phoenician and tech, high tech, like electric
Yeah,
lights. Zzz.
yeah, that does match the realm too. It's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
And the domes, I haven't figured it out totally, but there is a multifaceted function to the domes
I would
that
agree with that.
that I know, like the channel Global Vision, he looked into it, trying to figure it out.
Mm.
What he's trying to do is decipher the symbology that they have on the outsides of the buildings because they match worldwide. They match
Yes.
certain shapes and just so-called arbitrary aesthetics. Like your architect friend said that they just fancied doing it at the time, and there's no. Oh, that's San Francisco, isn't it?
Yeah, with that little sphere on top. They've done the planisphere in Paris. They've done one in the New York later Expo, which I think you can visit. It's just crazy big scale globes, you know. But look, how do you do that then, UAP? From that perspective, so it's bird's eye again. So it's from the imagination, and it's changing light. It's an existing place which is supposed to look like this. Yeah, you can go. The perspective is, you know, just
Yeah. And
outstanding.
there, you can see on the left and right, those are spiral staircases that
Yeah,
have been removed and blocked off.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
And
This
it's
is part of their
absolutely for
thing.
giants. The
You
railing
can see the
is
circle,
large
can
and
you?
short.
You know what would be
Yeah,
better.
it's
So that empty
it,
chamber is just to stick a lantern in to do absolutely frig all, and they got a bit of a big block in front of it to block it off where it was.
right,
Nicely
right. You know,
spotted,
but it's
UAP.
obviously a spiral staircase, and the people who occupied this building were probably much larger, unless it was just a.
It was an elevator taking up that floor, giants.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, that's a great point because they never do have the stairs. I've been looking for
No,
the
I know.
stairs,
There's a
but no,
few.
they had levitation or something. They would just do it
Wow.
based on their tech. And so I don't know. Maybe they don't even have moving mechanical parts. It could have been like you see in video games. You just go into this spot and you just levitate up, and then you just kind of
Yeah.
walk off. You know, something like that. Because that's all I ever see in these older buildings. There's no stairs
Mm.
in place. It's like you
Well,
said, an
I
empty
think
shell.
you're onto something because you know Hermes, like you know, he's supposed to be the father of alchemy, and you know Hermes Trismegistus and everything. And he turns up Phoenician, and he's got like this electromagnetic tech. Okay, the Casusas, but he wears a pair of wing boots, which enables him to fly. Two wings open, so the charge is active. So they're an analogy for electromagnetic, maybe
Yeah.
levitation. I think you know, these wing boots are to do with levitation. I really do, and I think it's something they've done 100%, no doubt about it. We know this is a thing anyway because the lamas of Tibet can do this sort of thing. The you know the highly that is religious, so they introduce you to Christianity, look, and then it goes up. You
Well,
know, there's no
something
people.
that Global Vision noticed, he pointed out, you see it here, is that when they have a dome electrical type structure like that,
Yeah.
they always put something in the center. They do not want you standing in the center of that,
Oh.
and
Oh, I
they
see what you
block you
mean.
100%.
Yeah.
And he believes that something can happen. Maybe something happens that you feel something when you do stand in the center, and they block you all the time.
Wow. I can see that. That's interesting. I never knew that.
And
Wow.
who knows what happens to you when you stand in the center of that?
Well,
I mean,
somebody,
like
I
we
should
talked about
I
electrical
have to grab
entity
him at some
things and things like
stage.
that. Who knows?
I have to grab Global Vision at some stage, pick his brains, see what's happening.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, somebody's mentioned it last night. Said, oh, I think I will.
Yeah, he got onto cannons first. I just looking at cannons, they're total bullcrap. You know,
Yeah, man.
he's the one that did that.
Got this for
Yeah,
powering a lighthouse.
and look, why did they have the ceiling so high? I mean, it's just
But it's ridiculous, isn't it? This thing's got like trains apparently that float in the air for people to go. See this platform here?
oh
Apparently, yeah, this is in the sky, and
well,
then
like
100.
a oh, that's the gantry. Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes you over the exposition, so you can look at it all from the air. See it here? It's ridiculous. It's on
Well,
rails.
they had electric boats.
How's that running then? It's not on cables, is it?
Oh, it's a gantry running on the rails, right?
Yeah, and they just go over the entire exposition in the air. This is
But that's
crazy.
obviously it was a some kind of huge like assembly facility, and that gantry was just left over, I think.
Ah.
It's not to ride people. That's
It was part of
something
what was
else.
in there, the technology, isn't it? And they just like, oh, that's
Yeah,
good, leftover. We'll stick some people on there because call it a ride or an
it's a
attraction.
ride.
Yeah, I can see that
They
happening.
had an elevator in one that just went up and back down. They said it was the first Otis elevator or something like that,
Oh yeah,
and
I've
it was just a
seen.
demonstration.
Yeah, I've seen that about the Otis. I'm not buying any of that. I'm not buying the narrative for elevators. Full stop. So we're still none closer to the conclusion, right? You know, these giant Tartarian houses were built for, you know, maybe servants upstairs, smaller stairs, like you mentioned, and you know the people who own the place, you know, upstairs and downstairs. There used to be a program in Britain about it all. Okay, so it was the elites and their servants. These massive houses. Yet, if you want to go to the toilet, you have to, you know, light a lantern. Apparently, go to the end of your garden in the freezing cold in Britain and go to a toilet in a wooden shed. Now, we had these right the way up to the modern day. I mean, I was working on a building site 20 years ago where this old guy had come out his back door, walked down his path, leave the door open on his little green hut, and read the newspaper and talk to us on the scaffold while he was going to the toilet. You know, these things were around recently in my lifetime. I just find it fascinating that they didn't seem to be able to manage a toilet at that period. Were the
Well,
original occupants even eating?
well, the place I found something like that is kind of like a communal thing again,
Mm.
and they refer to them as like bathhouses, but I think they were just like large public restrooms, gathering places. Yes, you could take baths there and everything, and people lived in a much more peaceful communal sense, and they gathered and did things as a community all the time,
Yeah, agreed.
and that lends to this notion of uh, the millennial reign of Christ with
Mm-hmm.
the peaceful period
Mm-hmm.
of serenity and you know I don't know if they tried to explain it off as like the Pax Romana, but you have people in glorified bodies, something like 22 feet tall,
Mm-hmm.
and they're depicted all the time. The gorgeous women, the muscular patriarchal men with the kick-ass long beards and all that type of stuff, and they're just living it up
Yeah, man.
with their white sheets
In
and
it.
all their like grapes and all that stuff. You know, it's like that's the millennial reign of Christ, and they're assisted by angels with swords that do all of the reining in of the
Agreed.
the riff-raff and that type of thing. So
I think something like that. Yeah, I do. I do. But you know, it's funny how you know, the predictive programmers of this realm, like you know, contemporary music, keep reminding us like there seems to be the 1,000 years. You know, you got Hitler. You know, you know, he wants to. He's apparently a megalomaniac, and he wants to have the Third Reich to last for 1,000 years. Well, why not 2,000, Hitler? Isn't there 2,000 years? And then you know, like Freddie Mercury, when it's a kind of magic. You know, to reign for 1,000 years. You know, there's so many, you know, in these songs
mhm.
where they tell you that it only seems to be 1,000 years. But, you know, people will relate that to the 1,000 years of Christ, won't they? But it's funny that they do tell us this. I
Yeah,
think a good track for the terrifying truth of it all and everything that's going on here is
right.
Under Pressure by Queen. You know, that's everything in there. You know,
Oh, really?
oh, everything. Just listen to it. It gives
Bum
me
bum bum
shivers.
bada bum bum.
It
Yeah,
gives me shivers. You know,
really.
hearing some close friends hearing screaming, "Let me out," because they know they're in a room. Yeah, and this is our last dance, our last shot of peace. You know, and they're telling you, all right, maybe it was in Live Aid in the 1984 or 85 or whatever it was, but you know, I think that they were doing it now, laying down. So it's in your consciousness. So this stuff comes along, you just recognize it. This is unusual. See this picture here? I found a modern artist who was depicting FEMA camps and some sort of epidemic. I collected a few of them. People are put in boxes in these huge FEMA camps and these tents. You see them?
Mm-hmm.
And that was his theme. that was his theme. The artist was huge FEMA camps and dock sites and stuff. Really sinister.
And they're always by rail lines, right?
Hmm?
I'm telling you, like if you go back and look, there's going to be a rail line somewhere, I
Oh,
think.
there it is for sure.
Yeah, that's hmm,
The ancient world. That's no longer ago in my mind. You know, this ancient world, this classical world. And why we're looking at all the photographs from the 1850s, and it looks like it's recent, it looks like it's fabricated, so it looks like film sets, is really, really creepy and sinister. Why they're blocking out the backgrounds, why they're altering all of the history for us. And it's for us, UAP, because there's not too many people, you know, apart from the people in this field, that were looking at this stuff in the first place.
mhm.
You and me? So, you know,
Yeah.
it's like two timelines, or that it's just not even there. Something else has happened. You know, if you think of it like in a virtual reality sense, I suppose it would make a little bit more sense. But yeah, it's just really, really. Look at that. That's San Francisco. No, that's Chicago, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like Sam. Wow, boy, I got to think for a second here.
I'm not sure either. Isn't that Sears Tower? No,
No.
no, that could be LA. No, it's not because
You got the pyramidal building. It looks like yeah, that circular building. It
Wow.
looks like that could be LA.
Yeah, it
I've
could
never
be.
seen this before.
Not me. I can't. I just first time I started, I don't even know I stumbled upon it. I've saved it at some stage, but wow, look at that. I think it looked
Yeah,
like that
and
in the past. You know, I think this is just the modern day replacement, and the infrastructure and everything was already there. I think.
well, I couldn't find the picture I told you I was
There
going to
it
send
is.
you. I deleted it.
Wow.
Oh, well, I was the one I told you that would blow your mind. I'll have to find it, but I can tell you about it. Yeah, that clock.
I know. Fancy
Wow.
that showing up. We just talked about it.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And you got the astrological symbols there, see? And yeah. Yeah. But the picture I was going to send you is it's an old artistic depiction about witches, and
Oh,
it shows these male witches or wizards um, on in a group of I think three off to the side, and they're casting their spells. And there's a city that is absolutely in flames, crumbling, an unnatural fire, and it
heat.
absolutely looked like what we see all over the
Yeah.
place. It
Look at
was
this.
witches.
Does that look
Oh
like it's been
yeah,
a vitrified statue or not?
yeah. It blew my
Bubble.
mind when I looked at these,
Bubble.
and you see where pieces fell off recently, and it shows the substructure of the anatomical
Yeah?
structure of a person. Yeah, it's just
Oh,
it's
excuse
like,
me.
oh, did they build it that way? No, it's
That's
it's
Baalbek.
it seems like
Ridiculous.
we keep getting smaller each
Yeah.
time.
Well, they say Baalbek was built by like Cain, and he's a giant and no problem whatsoever. But look at the size of, you know, there's people compared to that, you know, that's one stone there, that one stone. It's obvious
Yeah,
humans didn't put that in place. It's just, wow. Yeah, man.
yeah,
We were
and
just so much bigger. Look at
yeah,
that beautiful place. And
yeah. These places
Stonehenge.
out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
The old world, still there. Haven't got rid of it all. But they have had a good campaign in trying to get rid of it. Oh, look, that's supposed to be 2,000 years old. And it's still there in situ.
One of my favorite little video
Dresden.
clips is them trying to demolish one of these things, and they're swinging a wrecking ball against it, and it just bounces off.
Yeah, yeah, I know. This is what they're like. You know, the narrative for the demolition of the Waldorf Astoria, so they could build, you know, the Empire State Building on its site. Yeah, they said that he had to raise another 500,000 or something because the thing was so solid and full of wires, and you know that he's never encountered anything like it. They couldn't take it down. They couldn't take the
Yeah,
Waldorf Astoria down. Look at that thing.
yeah.
I couldn't even imagine what that is. It's just, it's been there a while, is all I can say.
Well, the channel Wise Up, he does a good job
Oh
figuring out
yeah,
what those things are. It's
this is
great.
his. He does like sort of, I suppose, antediluvian, and he does a brilliant job at it. Yeah, identifying
Yeah.
these things. There's the
Well,
old
and
muddler.
he matches them up, the structures, some of these, these things you find with the kind of squared off pattern of like these different,
Wow.
like it's like a waffle iron shape, and it's just huge, and it's just buried in the ground. Nobody knows what it is. He matches it up to these like brackets and things used for attaching I beams, and these structures were enormous, and it's something that was once metal, and then it like here, some of those things were obviously metal
Don't
because
have to.
they still have the rust in the stone. Yeah, like this type of thing.
Mm.
It's a strengthening ribs on a formed structure. Usually, it's going to be something like metal. It's not stone. It got replaced by minerals when it was under
Interesting.
waters, antediluvian,
Mm.
and it was amazing. One thing he found, it was a room in underground in Egypt that's like one of these supposed tombs. He found it had conduit, light switches, and then it had one of these big basins, and the basin had water jets. It was a hot tub, huge
Wow.
hot tub, and it had a switch, like an electrical line running to like a wall switch, and it was all solid stone, right? Because it's mineralized
Mm.
from being buried.
Wow. Yeah. Well, them changes definitely take place a lot quicker than we actually think. A lot of
Mhm.
this. With the science, where they always add longevity to everything, don't they? Or distance
Yeah,
to stars, or the longevity of everything. With evolutionary bullshit, and that can't even be proved, or any reality to it whatsoever. So yeah, I find that everything's in small pockets of time, and when you look out of the window at that pocket of time, all you see is catastrophe and reset, and they play it again and again.
right.
These are crazy. These are in Carnac in northern France, and they're just thousands and thousands of stones which look from above like iron filings subject to some electromagnetics or some magnetics. When you throw iron filings down?
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah. So they follow like a pattern.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, they follow patterns for sure. There's one of these mainstreamy guys, that Charles Ress. He's on Ancient Aliens and stuff, and he says they correlate to things above in the sky and also with ancient ley lines, etc. So there's a pyramid there
Hmm.
in America. You get them like everywhere. You know, this is 1880s and it's a step pyramid, but it's ancient, it's solidified.
Yeah.
Wherever happened to it? It happened to everywhere. These resets happen. Plain wide. I just showed the moe in Easter Island, and they're up to their necks in mud, and the rest of the body's below ground level. Something
Yeah.
covered them in mud.
Right. And there's a group of elite people who've known all along of this stuff. And I have a trick to find these things. And when you mentioned ancient photographs, I found there's a high interest in certain old photographs. So I found these auctions, and I look at what they're paying money for. I looked at past sales, and I found, like you said, photographs that seemingly wouldn't be worth much, but the subject matter based on what we look at is very interesting, and it's very telling. I found photos of medieval people, and some of them just seemed like portraits of famous figures
Yes.
that they can always say that, oh well, this is just an actor who played that role, uh, but they took the portrait of the actor, but the actor isn't known,
Oh
and
look,
it's
there's that thing.
oh, there it is, yeah, the Electric Knight.
Yeah. They got like little Faraday shirts on as well, or little to cover them up,
Yeah,
so they
it's
can
like
zap.
fencing when they cover themselves with these electrical type things, and
Yeah.
and but if you look, those are giants, and the people with the top hats watching uh, are like the wee people like us.
Yeah, that's magged in. I've done a screenshot, but you see that on the bigger picture. An endless vitrification of the old world. Tartaria. Check this out.
Is it San Francisco?
I think
Probably.
this one is the releveling, possibly. Well, they've done these relevelings to many cities, but I think this one is possibly Seattle. They did Seattle, St. Louis, Kansas City. That was called Mound City when they moved there, but they were really pyramids. They in Boston, they leveled Bunker Hill. There was a monument on top which doesn't fit for the longevity of how long the place has been there. It's just the ancient world, you know. Look at this. Look at this. This is crazy. Wow.
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 That rainstorm would wreak havoc on that.
They're just removing mud, aren't they, really? It even makes you ask, why are they have to do it so deep? Where are they, you know, what is their purpose? Why can't they just do it on ground level? Are you with me? It's just, why are they digging down there? Makes no sense whatsoever. Now, there's a nice evidence for vitrification or some sort of heat. This seems to be later, but this thing here is just literally bubbled. That much intense heat has hit it.
Yeah.
Possibly plasma discharge, possibly coming in from this direction, taking out what was here before.
Wow. And I see some. I mean, do you see anything in that stone? Like,
what do you mean? Like,
I don't know. It's sometimes I just, you know, it wouldn't naturally take that shape, right?
No.
That makes me think. Like, look at that, like a creature or something. If it's like a face or a horse hoof or something at the bottom, I don't know.
Oh, I get you. I get you. Yeah.
It could just be like the decoration of the building or something, but it's like something got like blasted against it and just fused into it.
I can see what you're saying. Yeah. I can see what you're saying.
And if you do chemical analysis on these things, what looks like rust is rust. What looks like bone is bone.
I agree.
It's got the calcium. It's got all the stuff.
It's got the iron oxide or the calcite. Yeah, I agree completely. Look at that in the woods. Going where, I wonder. Spooky. You get a lot of them going underground all over the world. Bunkers.
Oh, these battlements and things. Yeah, they make them up to defend a harbor. They have this network of tunnels they're never used. Just ridiculous.
Check that thing out. I wonder what that is.
Oh, gravestones. My gosh, to see that this place is not like, if you look at gravestones, the absolute.
You did them. That's the tunnels in Liverpool, the Williamson tunnels.
Oh yes, Liverpool. That's it. I said Manchester. Yeah, I did a video on those. That's what I was talking about. All the brick.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, that's a definite bullshit narrative that Williamson building these, and they are so vast. I talked about these, and a girl from Liverpool contacted me. She was in my comments. She said, "I works there." She said she takes tourist rounds and that. Yeah. She was going to take photos, but it didn't arrive. I was like, you know, it's just the scale and, you know, the excuse for why we built it. To me, it's like just an underground civilization.
I hope it's not the one I kind of barbed a little bit.
I'm not sure. It was a few years ago. It was a couple of years ago.
Well, I mean nothing by it. You know, it's just... I'm going to barb anybody who does the narrative. Yes, the double tunnel, and that's the ventilation, and you have the actual... Oh, yeah.
Williamson.
Always with the top hat.
Exactly.
Right.
They just, it's Masonic symbology, and there's something else going on the top hat, that space in top. You know, we thought, is it ice? Does that help you think? But it could be something to do with the conditions. You know,
or
I can't help thinking.
Or some device that they use that they hide.
Or some device that they hide. Definitely, because it's only the people in power that have them, haven't they? You know, everyone else got a flat cap.
Right.
A shitty flat cap, like, you know.
Yeah, the bowlers and whatever else.
There's that big
wheel. These wheels, they always have those.
1893. Yeah, but imagine this, right? They look exactly like railway carriages, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, what if it was this thing gets completely destroyed, right? This entire area, I got a photograph of this, right, in Chicago, and basically all you see is about this much of the wheel existing, the rest disappears, including the metal. It's just the strangest thing. And the whole site is just like Hiroshima. There's nothing existing at this site. during this fire. But like they look like, you know, imagine a train coming in maybe and lifting it up and taking them round. They just look so
Well,
much like railway carriages, don't they? It's amazing.
well, they had huge equipment. I saw with these things they have these tramways that unload the passengers at the expositions.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
found similar
yeah.
things. These battlements I just talked about in the harbors have these small tunnels. Those, to me, were like not just seaports, but also airports, because some of them are extremely elevated
Mm.
for the airships. And they would take the luggage of the passengers arriving in the city and they'd put them on these moving like luggage transport systems like we have in the airports for baggage claim,
Yeah.
and that's what they were. They wouldn't carry people necessarily because people were larger, I think, but they carried their bags. And I saw like in New Zealand, looking at the different harbors, that there was no reason they would make this huge network of tunnels to so-called like defend the city from the Germans or whatever the
It
story
makes no
was.
sense.
Yeah, but it would if you have an airship like a dirigible, you're arriving in Auckland or something, you're going to land, yeah, near the at the peak near the waters up on the cliff, and then the passengers are going to disembark and put their bags somewhere, and that they just move them automatically.
Hmm. Yeah, the pavements are moving pretty hot as well in Paris, aren't they? You know, the moving sidewalks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they never last. They never work. They're so they're so high tech, really, that we don't even really make use of anything like that now. These moving walkways in some airports, I guess, but they had graduated speeds. The one in New York had something like 4 or 5 different speed graduations. So by the time you got to the fast track, you were really moving. They had no use for the other modes of transport. You could move just by walking, and it's with anything. You could be on a horse. You could have a huge cart or something. It didn't matter. It's extremely efficient, convenient, and all purpose. It was all
Wow.
torn up, of course.
Seen this one?
Mummy.
Don't know. It's got like a massive face on it. It's a horrible thing. Don't know what it
Yeah,
is.
what is that?
Yeah. A
Yeah,
massive
it's
ant.
probably hoax.
It could be.
Hoax.
There's many of them. The Cardiff Giant was proved, but apparently a hoax. I posted about that. The Cardiff Giant. You heard about that in North State, in
Yeah,
New York State. Yeah.
yeah, that was.
Fake backdrop again.
Oh yeah,
And you know, like everything, you always find this with Egypt in all these old photographs, 1800s. Is there's a sort of damp line on the, you know, Karnak. You find it as well. Everything is defaced and smashed off. The height of a
right.
civilization. You know, this is Rome Baths. Excuse me, the Bath in Britain. You know, the city Bath.
Yeah,
It's a complete ruin in this photograph. In the modern day, you can walk around here and visit it, and it looks all mint. But you know, I think this is like the time, just not long after when that event happened. It's just, you know, so recent, 1800s apparently. You know, there's a sidewalk or
mm.
right down below ground level.
Yeah. They always they're doubled up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a bit. UAP. I'm gonna have to probably pack it in soon because of my
Yeah,
ridiculous
oh, it's
time
good.
here. So getting off at 3 o'clock here. So that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's gonna wrap it up. It was good. We got to do it again, and
Yeah, man. Everything's
um,
recorded, fine. So yeah, I can either I can send you this if you got it, if you got it recorded, haven't you? So yeah, cool.
yeah,
I'll probably
yeah. I think I got it. Yeah, I've got it recording, and
when you gonna put yours up? When you gonna put yours up tomorrow sometime?
yeah, it'll probably be tomorrow.
Yeah. So
Uh,
anyway,
Probably
thanks.
around the same time.
Cool. Yeah, probably. Anyway, I'll send everyone anyway, and everyone vice versa. We'll make a night of every brilliant. So yeah, we'll do this again. We tried to grab Campbell, but it's 7 hours, I think, in the future. So it'll be early morning for him. He'll probably be around 8 o'clock in the morning now. But I did leave him a link in case he got up. unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bit late, yeah. So yeah, I had to fix something up. You know, the last time he stayed up to a ridiculous time, up because I couldn't get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to go and hang out with him. So yeah, it's going to be exciting if we can get John Levy. You know, I've been bugging him ceaselessly, and he told me the same in emails that he'd be doing this. So that would be absolutely fantastic. When I told people today on my Facebook, and I've done a little Instagram UAP, the excitement is just palpable. Honestly, it's just everybody
Yeah.
is so excited. I am myself. It's going to be like history in the making. It's going to be fucking fantastic. All of
Well,
it.
yeah, there's nothing to compare it to, really.
No. This is no benchmark, mate. This is it. This is going to be fantastic. I can't even wait. This is going to be, and for the
Yeah,
guys as well.
it's a thrill.
They're going to love it. They're just going to absolutely love it. We got so much mind-blowing stuff between us. It's just going to be wow.
Yeah, I've had many requests the same, and they'll definitely be thrilled.
Anyway, thank you UAP for joining. That's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing. And
wow, so much there. Yeah, I'm going to call this Hollow History or Hollow Past because it seems to be hollow.
yeah,
Something going on there. Maybe the guys will think of some stuff now in comments. They always add, their input. That's where I pick it up from in the comments and emails. Think tanking.
yeah. If we can figure this stuff out ahead of time, I think we're going to be huge steps ahead
What I'm thinking.
of anything.
Yeah, man. I can't do it on
past.
our own, man. And it's just to be going an inch of the world, and like some people do. It's their business. I'm just saying that more communal, more minds together when we're in so much shit is a good thing to do right now. Work this
Absolutely.
out. Yeah.
Hopefully, there's enough time. I don't want to be desperate or fearful or anything like that.
Just want to wake people up, just for their own sake, so they can be like us, unburdened. I haven't been bothered one bit. I haven't been stressed. I haven't really give any interest, really. I'm looking at it, carrying on, getting on with my life. It's been inconvenient, but like you said, I'm just getting on with my life. I wasn't really, I've been, phobic from germs and washing my hands and keeping away from them anyway. So it's not.
Yeah, you don't want to catch whatever's got them. You don't want to drink their water.
Yeah, I've been like that anyway with them forever. I love germs. I have to really know you.
It's just a natural reaction, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a physical, mental, physical, spiritual reaction to that kind of
even opening door handles
or negativity.
No. It's just I think we keep it. There's some people are feared, because they're subject to hypnosis or whatever's happened to them with this mind control operation, which has been.
It's terrible.
They have nailed it. Yeah, they knew how people respond. They even chucked in a Hegelian dialectic, which is like a thing that shouldn't even be a thing, which is supposed to be like race or whatever that word is, which is another one of their concepts, which is utter bullshit. And everyone should understand. It's quite simple. They divide us to rule us. They conquer through division. And if everyone's divided and arguing, then we got no chance. But we have got a chance. And if everyone wakes up together at the same time,
they always require our consent. They're not so powerful that they can just absolutely rule over us.
No,
they have to trick us. Then they have to get our informed some people argue whether it's informed consent, but technically, as long as it's technically informed consent, it empowers what they do. But when you outright reject and officially do not consent to what they are trying to do, they seem to be all but powerless. Don't they?
That's what's going on. We do it from consent. They do trick us. They don't give us the full story. When we don't do it blindly. When we're small, our parents take us and register us. We don't really get a say in the matter. From the beginning, and it's it happens before then even. So it's from the off. As soon as we enter this place through the canal, you can even have breech birth. Breech is a C word. The breech. It's just everything has got to be to do with them. For this maritime theme, it's just the weirdest thing. But yeah, this happens from the very start. We don't really get a say in the matter. As far as I'm concerned, everyone's born enlightened, and then it's a downward process from there. because of them, because of the the mind forms they give us, and the mind control. I've been so lost in the past for bullshit, and I don't blame anything anymore. But now I can recognise it and think, I was hung up. I actually lost years of my life just pissing around because of stuff they made up, complete lies.
Right. Absolutely.
But, yeah. Lost years, it's just nonsense. I just can't even believe it. But it's a learning curve.
Well, I value what we're doing here.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I do value you. UAP.
Can't wait to get it out.
Yeah, you're a good brother, man. Yeah. Thank you for coming along.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to have hooked up with you on this subject. It's I think probably one of the most important things I'm doing. I started off doing the fake space and that meant a lot for the same reasons, all the same reasons that we just mentioned. It's a little bit of a smaller scale though than the history, especially now. So. So yeah. All right. Well, have a good one. Sorry to keep you up late.
No, I'm fine. I can handle it.
Okay.